Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we will be starting the fifth module of this course, which will be dealing with object-oriented programming. Let's start with classes and objects. Classes are like blueprints and objects are actual instances created from these blueprints. To understand these better, let's use an example. Let's say we have car. So it has the attributes of model, make, color, and many more. Now, what can a car do? A car can start, accelerate, and also can stop. So, these are characteristics which are common to every car, these three. And also, every car also has a model, a make, and a specific color. Now, these three start, stop, and accelerate can be considered as functions of the car, while model, make, and color are the attributes that are variables related to the car. So, this describes what a car can have and what it can do, which sums up the variables and the functions associated. Now, let's say we have a car, Swift, Desire, which is blue in color. So, the model is Swift, the make is Desire, and the color is blue. Now, it can obviously start, stop, and accelerate. So, you can think of a car as the class which provides us a blueprint of what a car should be like, while the blue Swift Desire is the object created from the class of the car, which has the same functions as the car and a specific make, model, and color. So, a car can be thought of as equivalent to class, while this specific car that we have created with the make Swift, model Desire, and color blue happens to be the object of the class car. So, now let's write it in a program. Let's define a class car colon def init underscore underscore self comma make comma model comma color. Now remember, we have to use the spelling of color this way, color. You can't use u here. I'll explain the program once I fully write it. Okay, you can already see what I'm going to write, like they are giving us the option, but anyway, I'm going to write it anyway. You have to keep in mind the syntaxes. Like the way I'm writing here is the way you always have to write. You can't change anything. Class should be written this way. C cannot be capital, or the whole word class cannot be capital. So here we have initialized and defined the attributes of the car, which are make, model, and color. Next we have the function accelerate, self. So here we are using the assignment operator of plus equal to. Okay. So here I have initialized speed with 0 since the car is initially at rest. And here we when we want to accelerate the car, we are adding 10 to the speed. So the speed is increasing obviously. Print the car has stopped. Has stopped. Okay. So this was the definition of the class car. Now let's create an object of this car. So let's say my car equals car Swift Desire blue. So this object has specific attributes which are Swift, Desire and blue. We can also interact with the object in this way. My car dot accelerate and my car dot stop. Okay. Now let's run and check it out. Okay, accelerate. Yeah. Okay. So you can see the output here. So yeah, so we have created an object which has specific make, model and color, and we can interact with the methods in this way. Like since my car is an object of the class car, it can use its functions which are accelerate and stop. So here is the output. Now let me explain the program. So class car colon is the beginning of the definition of the class car. Then we have speed equal to 0. This is very simple. Like you can understand that initially the car is at rest, so the speed is 0. So this is a variable of the class. This is known as the class attribute. Okay, next we have def init, self, make, model, and color. Okay, so this special keyword called self is used to initialize the attributes. Self.make equals make. So we are initializing the attribute of make with an initial value of make. Like this is the initial value. Make is the make in the right hand side of the equal to is the initial value of the variable called make. Similarly, like I said that Initial value of speed was 0. So initial value of make is make. Basically, you could have written M and like M for make and MO for model maybe. So that would have been easier to understand. But it is what it is. Well, so here in accelerate, we are modifying the attribute called speed. We are increasing it by 10 and we are printing that the speed currently is this much. So, okay. Next we have stop, and here the car is being stopped. So the speed is being like overwritten. The value of speed was 10. Now it has been stopped. So the value of speed will be now 0. Okay. And the car has been stopped is being printed. Next we are creating an object called my car, and this is the definition of an object. This is how you are supposed to create an object. Like this, you are basically calling the init constructor. I'll explain what it does in details sometime later. So we are basically calling the init constructor, and we are like these are the arguments which we are putting into these parameters of make, model, and color. So my car is an object of the class car, which has the make of Swift and the model of Desire and the color of blue. Okay. Next, we are interacting with the instant method, sorry. So I'll explain all these terms later on. So my car can accelerate and my car can stop, which is what it is doing here. Okay. So here class, def, and self are special keywords. You already know what are def and class used for. Class is used for defining a class, while def is used for defining a function. And self is used to access the attributes and methods of instances or objects. Instances are also known as objects. So here we are initializing with the help of self, while here we are also modifying with the help of self. So self has to be there for, like, self is making the instance methods, which are just functions for now. Let's just say functions. So self is making the functions and the variables available to the newly created object here. So without self, we cannot access these attributes or the functions. So attributes are also known as variables. Like basically variables are also called attributes, while functions here are also called methods. So these words class, def, and self are have special meaning to the language compiler. So these cannot be used as variable names. Like they have different meaning to the language, and like if we use these as variable name, we might get some error. So we do not use these as variable names. Like, you have to keep this in mind, like class, self, def. Like you might have to name variables which may be closely related to such words, but you have to refrain from using these words. So yeah, so methods like functions here inside a class are also known as methods, and variables inside a class are also known as attributes, and instances is just another name for objects. Moving on. Next we have instance attributes and instance methods. I kind of just explained it, but let's go back again. So instance attributes are these ones, like in here, which I have explained. So these ones, make, model, and color, these three are instance attributes, while these three are instance methods. Like this one was not the method actually, no, this one wasn't the method. So accelerate and stop were the methods. These two. These two are instance methods. They are defined for instances or objects of the class. By creating objects, we can call the methods and understand their utility. So, because these variables and methods, their utility can be understood when we can like use them by creating an object. This is why they are known as instance methods and instance attributes. I hope this is clear to you. Next, we have init constructor. Okay. So, init constructor is a special method which gets called when an object of the class is created. It is used to initialize the instances with attributes. So, when this line that we have written, my car is equal to car and all these, so this is when init constructor is called. So, we don't have to call it using its name init, but we call it using the name of the class and then we use its parameters. So, this is just used when for initializing the parameters with the arguments that we have entered here. Self is the first parameter of init, by the way, here. And with the help of self, the values are assigned to the object's attributes. So init is just used for initialization. Okay, so we came across a lot of new terms today, so let me explain the code once again. So class car colon, we are creating a class here. Speed equals to 0 since the car is initially at rest. So the initial speed is 0. So the variable speed is initialized with the value of 0. Okay, def init self comma make comma model comma color. So init is a constructor which is called upon when the object is created and self is its first parameter while we have the other parameters of make, model and color. Next we are using self to initialize the attributes of make, model and color with these values. Next we have def accelerate which also has a parameter called self because like I said self is used to initialize and modify the variables. So here speed here, the class attribute called speed here is being modified and is being increased by 10 and we are printing the set speed. Next we have stop which also has an attribute a parameter called self. Like self is always used in instance methods since instance methods are used by instances or objects. So we also always have to initialize or modify certain variables for the sake of objects, which is why we always use self for instance methods. So here speed is being modified and its value is again changed into 0 and we are printing that the car has stopped. Next we have created an object called my car which has the make of Swift and the model of Desire and the color of blue. So here an object is created. Then we are using these functions. We are invoking these instance methods using the object. So the object can accelerate and the object can stop as well. So here is the code. So I know it might suddenly become very new, like it might feel very out of place suddenly since we have not used so many new terms and so many new variables, like so many new format of writing programs before this. So if you have any difficulty understanding this, please comment down below, please. So moving on. Methods and inheritance. Instance methods versus class methods versus static methods. We have already seen what instance methods are and we know that they operate on instances and we can access and modify instance specific attributes like these ones. So they operate on specifically instances of classes. Now class methods, as the name suggests, affect the class as a whole. They operate on the class and not on the attributes or objects. So let's see how we can use class methods. Suppose in this program we have a variable called efficiency. Here, efficiency. Okay, let's just set it to 0, which is kind of unrealistic if you think about it. Like efficiency should not be 0 of any car. Like then this has to be the worst car ever, right? But anyway, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just initializing it to 0. Like this is very unrealistic if you think about it. Okay, anyway, let's add another method here. But first, we have to type class method. Like this is to tell the program that what we are doing here is like what we are going to define here is the class method and not just an instance method. Like to differentiate between an instance method and a class method. This is just me following the Pepette guidelines. Okay, I'm just leaving one blank line after each variable definition and function definition and all. Okay, so let's write def set efficiency cls comma efficiency. Okay, cls efficiency equals efficiency. So here we have a class method which is not being like which is not operating on the instance attributes here. Like it cannot operate on make, model, and color. It is instead operating on this one, which is a class attribute, which is efficiency. So obviously we can also use the objects to invoke these, like invoke this method as well. Like let's say 20 since we are being given the option here. So yeah. Or maybe we could have written something like that, like let's say that we are not using this parameter here and we are initializing, we are using this operator, say 10. So efficiency, this class method efficiency is increasing the efficiency of the car by 10. So in this case, since we removed the other parameter here, which was called efficiency, we are also removing this parameter that we had written here, the 20 we had written here. So either way, you can see that this efficiency, the set efficiency class method is not using or has nothing to do with these instance attributes. It is instead using class attribute. So you can understand what class attribute and class methods mean, that they are dealing with the class and not the variables and the functions made for instances. Like we can obviously still invoke these methods using the objects. Like objects basically help us to understand the utility of the functions and the variables. But other than that, the class methods are basically making use of class attributes and they have nothing to do with instant attributes. Okay, then we have stating methods, right? So stating methods don't have access to class or instance attributes, but reside within the class anyway. They are defined within the class and they behave like normal functions. Now suppose you want to keep a record of location inside the class. Now location kind of has nothing to do with the model or the make of the car or any sort of calculations. We are including it simply for additional purposes. So let's write here stating method. This is also used to tell the program that we are going to define a stating method. Location Okay, return lock. And again, we can use the object to invoke the method. So here you can see the function called location is not using either the class attribute or the instance attribute. It is just there. Like it's just for us to keep record of the location. Maybe, like maybe it has some other purpose in the program itself. Like it is not being used by the object and it does not mean anything to the object or the class, but we still want to keep this information. So, which is why we are using this one. So, yeah, like since all of these are methods, they can be interacted, like they can interact with the object in this way. So, let's say it has to be a string, by the way. Say Mumbai. So, here we have it. You can also use static method to keep track of date and like clock time in the class in case it is needed in the code. So this is just extra information that you might want to add in the code, like which will not interact with class attributes or instance attributes, but it is there for additional information. And you can invoke all of these methods by creating objects. So I hope this is also clear. And like I think I have explained everything. I don't think I have missed any point. But in case you think that I have missed something, like maybe I could explain something more, then please write it down in the comments because I can understand that this might be difficult suddenly. And also, like if you want me to explain something once again, anyway, or maybe write it down in some other way, I can do that too. So let me know, please. I think I have explained everything. Like, whatever. I think I've explained the full code. Or, yeah, I think I have. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we have inheritance, which allows one class to inherit attributes and methods from another class. No, now, here, the class that inherits is the child class or subclass, and the class which it inherits from is the parent class or superclass. Now, you know how we inherit attributes and functionalities from our parents, like we end up looking like them, or maybe we have the same handwriting or share the same habits. So, classes can also inherit from other classes. So, let's write a program and check it out. Let's create a new file here. Mm, inheritance.py. Okay, so, all right, let's create a class called class animal. Then we have init. Also keep in mind the syntax, like no spaces here. Self command name self dot name equals name. Okay, next we have, see, don't forget to leave blank lines for the sake of pep 8 guidelines, and like it'll just make your code look better. Self. Next we print self dot name makes sounds. All right, so here we have ended the definition of the class. Now, this is a class called animal and it has an attribute called name, and it also has a method called speak. Next, we'll create a subclass of it, which will go like this: class dog bracket animal. So this is to specify that the class dog is inheriting from the class called animal. And we have def init underscore self comma name comma breed. So breed is a new attribute which is exclusive to the class called dog, like it was not there in the class called animal. Next we'll write super dot init init name self dot breed def speak self print f self dot name box. So yeah, so let's create an object of the class called dog. My dog equals dog Scooby Doo. I'm obviously referencing the famous cartoon character here, which has the breed of Great Dane. And then we write dog dot speak. So let's check it out. Wait a second. Alright, this is a bit. Okay, this has to be my dog dot speak since dog is the class. And yeah. So here we have it. So this is class animal, which has an attribute called name, which we are initializing using self. and it has an instant method called speak, which is just telling us that the name self.name makes sounds. And then we have a class called dog, which inherits from the class called animal, as said in the class definition. So we are inheriting this attribute called name from the class called animal, for which we are using this one super bracket dot init name, which is used to inherit the attribute of name from the class called animal. And we are also adding a new attribute called breed, which is exclusively for the class called animal. Class called dog. And it is not an attribute of the class called animal. So this is inheritance, and as you can see, like we have created an object of the class called dog, and we are using here, like the object can use the attribute mentioned in the class called animal, even though it is not an object of the class animal. Like it is using the attribute of name through the class called dog. Like since dog has also inherited the attribute of name from the class animal. Alright, so next we have method overwriting. Like this is just a subclass provides a specific implementation of a method that is already defined in its parent class, sorry. So here we have already actually done it. Here we have overwritten the speak method to provide a behavior that is specific to dogs only. Like here in the speak method of the class animal, we had just written like the name makes sounds. While here we are specifically saying that name barks. So this is the same method, but it is not being inherited, it is being overwritten instead. Now say if we had written here, like we just comment it out. I think you remember this is how we use single line comments. Now I want to write super dot speak. So you can see this is inheriting the method of speak from the class animal. Like we are not overriding it this time. Now let's see here Scooby-Doo makes sounds. Because we are not overriding it, we are inheriting the method as it is from the class animal. So we have seen both the outputs. In the first output, we overrode it, while in the second one, we just inherited the method from the class. So again, I think I can explain it once again. So here we have defined a class called animal, which has an instance attribute called name, and self is being used to initialize the attribute here. And it has an instant method called speak, which is printing this. Next, we have a class called dog, which is inheriting from its parent class or superclass called animal. It is also using the init constructor to initialize the variables. It is inheriting the attribute of name directly from the parent class and adding a new attribute called breed. Next, we have a method called speak. Like in this case, we are just inheriting the method as it is from the parent class and we are using it. But if we comment this out, and we uncomment this, then we are overwriting the method. The method is not being inherited, instead it is being overwritten. Like we are using the same method here, but this method does a different thing. You can see that. Now we are creating an object of the class called dog, which can obviously access the attribute called breed because it belongs to the same class, but it can also access the inherited attribute of name, which actually belonged to the class animal but was inherited by the class dog, which is why an object of the class dog can also use it. Next, we are interacting with the function of the class dog using my dog. Like here, speak function is this one, okay, the one inside the class dog, since my dog is an object of the class dog. So here also you have already seen the difference. Here we will have Scooby-Doo barks. Okay, so we did code a lot today. So we have come to the end of this video. So it's time for a quick recap. So we started off with classes and objects. Then we talked about instance attributes and instance methods. Then we learned how we can make use of init constructor. Then we learned about the different types of methods defined within the class, instance methods, class methods, and static methods. And finally, we learned about inheritance and method overriding. So today we started the fifth module, which we will be continuing in the next lecture. Let me know in the comments if you have any queries regarding the previous lectures or this one, or like I said before, if you want me to explain both of the programs again. Also, let me know if you're okay with how I first explain the structure of the program, like before I started, like this one here, before I actually started defining the class and the object. I actually explained this way. Like, this is just me writing down stuff, but I guess you can, like, it helps you to understand better. Like, you know what's coming when we start writing the code now. So yeah, I like, let me know if you want me to do something like this more, or maybe I can be more efficient in it. Like, if you can suggest a better way to explain the structure, maybe explaining in general, let me know. Okay, alright. So good luck to you and see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Thank you.